Bobby Slowick is out as Texans offensive coordinator. Nick Caley, the former Rams passing game coordinator and tight end coach, is their new offensive coordinator. And after that, the Texans coaching staff, for the most part, is the same. Chris Strausser, he is no longer the offensive line coach. Cole Popovich has been promoted from assistant offensive line coach to the actual offensive line coach and run game coordinator. Gerard Johnson is staying on as quarterback coach. He does not get that offensive coordinator gig. After that, barring anyone getting hired by the Philadelphia Eagles or Kansas City Chiefs after potential changes after Sunday, that's it. Is that enough? Given how disappointing, especially the offense was last year, it seems like they're putting an awful lot on Nick Caley to get the most out of an offense that underachieved.
Yeah, and they hired Jerry Shaplinski. He was Tom Brady's quarterback coach with the Pats as well. So
Some Patriot guys.
I don't know, man. This is an interesting direction that they're going because it feels like one of two things is happening to me. They are all in and all in agreement that Strausser and Bobby were the only problem, which I think is a narrow view. But to bring back everybody except for a new OC and a senior offensive assistant seems to me very short-sighted.
Cole Popovich, I think, is there entirely because of that, based off of what I've heard. Because I think Popovich was someone who did not like the way things were being run by specifically Bobby Slowick. And look, there's lots of things to point at with Bobby Slowick and wonder about his ability to lead, in addition to his actual knowledge of the Shanahan offense, how to best utilize it. But this is largely the same group. I've seen some wonder why Gerard Johnson didn't get promoted while Cole Popovich did. I think that's a fair question to ask. I think it was Sarge who threw that out there. Yeah, that's totally fair to wonder why is it that he moves up? Is it entirely because he didn't like Bobby Slowick and Gerard Johnson's in the same spot when Nick Caley has never called plays before either as offensive coordinator?
It makes me just wonder about the role of who's in charge here. And it feels to me that this looks ran by your general manager, not by your head coach. You bring in Nick Caley, who was with the Patriots. You keep Cole Popovich, who was there with Caley with the Patriots. You bring in Shaplinski, who was there with the Patriots.
Todd the
It's
show said
Patriots.
Todd the show said Patriots South on the Twitch.
It just
It's a
feels like
different version of Patriots South, though.
yes.
It's Patriots South 2, the legend of Curly's goal.
And this is like, and these are, this is not, promoting the head coach. So I do think it's a little bit different. Like, I don't know what the track record of promoting, assistant coaches to OCs and DCs across the NFL was. We mostly just saw the head coaches fail. Those are the ones we focus in on. But it just feels like, I don't know why D'Amico would make all these hires. It just seems strange to me. Like, so I don't think D'Amico's making these decisions here.
Who's making them?
Nick Caserio. How would D'Amico, I don't know, to hire three guys basically from the Patriots to not promote Gerard Johnson? I think he fired Bobby, but maybe he felt more confident in letting Nick Caserio be part of this.
I bet D'Amico was pressured by Nick into moving on from Slowick. I also think that management probably pressured Nick to tell the coaching staff that some changes need to be made, and they probably looked at Bobby Slowick, given the Q rating that he did not have this past year, especially with the way that the season wrapped up offensively. And this is something that definitely trickled down from the top, but that's a fair argument to make that Nick Caserio is still running things, though it's in a more collaborative sense than perhaps in years past, where I think many would argue that with David Culley, he was doing everything. Like, for the God's sake, he was making Culley wear a headset and talking to him on it.
Yeah.
With Lovie Smith, a little less of that, but still, I think his hands were all over it. His hands still could be all over it. Is that a problem?
Not if it works, and not if D'Amico's on board with it. I mean, if D'Amico's on, if it's a collaboration, it's not a problem.
I mean, we saw a team do this last offseason, and their head coach was farther along and more embattled, and we thought maybe the head coach would get fired, but he had to replace two coordinators that were there's no obvious ties to him with the two coordinators he hired, and it was believed that their front office moves. It was when the Philadelphia Eagles hired Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio last season. Now they're in the Super Bowl. No one's going, what are we sure that this was a good process? Are we sure that this is okay, that they went over the head of Nick Sirianni and made him kind of kiss the ring with to Howie Roseman and let Howie Roseman? No, it's fine. They made the Super Bowl. Like, they're one game away from this working out perfectly in year one. So it really is as simple as, like, as long as it doesn't long term harm the working relationship between Nick Casario and D'Amico Ryans, if they're on the same page with this, as long as these guys are good coaches, like, I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, and if they're not on the same page with it, then one of these guys will get fired. If this doesn't work, if this does not go well,
And this is
and
Balky and Jim Harbaugh.
and these are Casario's
Yeah.
moves, then Casario will be out and D'Amico will be the head coach and be part of hiring the GM.
How soon could that happen? Do you think it happens after next season? I feel like
It'd have to be bad next year.
I think it had to be like you have to miss the playoffs
Right.
pretty significantly to see any like really dramatic changes. Because Casario still, besides the offensive line, has done a great job with this roster.
And let's be honest, that's why there weren't that many changes made to the coaching staff, too. They've made it to the final 8 2 years in a row with a young quarterback and a young head coach. There was more talent on the team this year, but the schedule was more difficult. So I understand why, for the most part, the coaching staff is the same, but it is really all on Mick Caley and Cole Popovich. There's a part of me that wishes Gerard Johnson had gotten an opportunity maybe elsewhere. This is nothing against Gerard Johnson and what happened this year. I do not think that the quarterback room was the problem. I think that CJ Stroud and the effect of the offensive line certainly took a step back because of that offensive line. I don't know that you can put the performance on the quarterback coach that much.
I don't think so.
But there is a part of me, and this is selfishly because I know Gerard. There is a part of me that wishes he had gotten an opportunity. And it's interesting that a guy who was a part of the worst unit of the team got promoted in Cole Popovich. It is bizarre.
Yeah,
if we're being frank.
And then Gerard did not get promoted. And I guess there's still a chance he could leave. Like, I guess he could get the Saints OC job or the Eagles OC job.
Would you want the Saints OC job?
Definitely not. I don't know why Kellen Moore wants the head coach job, to be honest. It's probably one of the worst jobs in the NFL. They have negative $80 million in cap space. They don't have a quarterback. They have an aging running back. They don't have a lot of stars on their team.
Yeah. And
bad spot.
If it is Kellen Moore, which would make sense that the Saints job is the only one still open and 2 days before the Super Bowl, they're probably waiting for a Super Bowl guy to announce as their head coach. If you are Gerard Johnson, like, do you want to work for an offensive-minded head coach who's probably going to call the plays that you've, to my mind, off the top of my head, have never worked with before? Like,
yeah, he never has.
It doesn't seem like a seamless fit.
No, yeah, it's just not totally impossible.
Yeah, I guess there is like a 5% chance. Yeah.
But then again, like, we don't really know.
Or it could not be Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore could Josh McDaniels them at the last second. He what goes to the bathroom at it was Jim Irsay went to the bathroom for like an hour at Josh McDaniels' house.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Kellen Moore might do that. I would suggest it. Of don't take this job, buddy. There'll be better ones down the road.
Yo, their GM's been there since 2002.
Yeah.
And I know that Sean Payton's a large reason for how long he's been there, but this guy's firmly entrenched. And I on my live stream, I did a deep dive into one of the interviews he did. The guy's delusional. He's like, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. And just because the results aren't good doesn't mean the process was bad. It's like, dude, yeah, it does, actually. Yes. After a certain point.
Yeah, look for your 20 years. Cap, I guess not 20 years. 5 years of being bad.
But say Kellen Moore and others leave. I do think, given Gerard Johnson's had an interview with the Eagles before, it's a possibility that the Eagles perhaps bring in Gerard Johnson.
Oh, yeah, it could be more of the domino effect.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll see. For now, this is likely going to be the coaching staff for the Houston Texans going into this year. From the 281, this is anti-Italian discrimination. You can't do this. With Casario's nose, I'm sure he can sniff out the window. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't even think he has that big of a nose. I think that's just anti-Italian discrimination.
It made me laugh, though. That's a very funny joke.
He doesn't have that big of a nose. It's a nose, but it's not a huge one.
It's not massive.
It's not a schnoz. You know, he's not.
Yeah, no,
He's not
it's a-
Streisand out there.
Yeah.
This person thinks he clearly is.
No,
Mm.
this is a normal nose.
Yeah, this is very normal.
Find
nose.
a new slant.
That's
Normal nose.
Yeah, that's anti-Italian discrimination. Okay, we don't do that here all the time.